Raven Black, a viciously sweet metal medley of feminine and masculine power, harnessed through a tiny half-human, half-doll, surrounded by her misfits, tossed into a theatrical debauchery of creepy fun, and that's just the beginning. Raven Black, welcome to Psycho Babble.
Hi, nice to see you guys.
Nice to see you. This is...
I'm Muppet. Thank you for having us.
Tell me about 13.
13 is our second album we've ever released, and kind of like the soundtrack to our first comic book, The Beginning. Just kind of our journey into coming out into the world, touring, and just kind of talks about different criticisms, different challenges that we have, the good and the bad, you know, the beautiful and the ugly of touring and our struggle through it, which will then lead to our third album in the future and our second comic book issue coming out next year.
So everything you do is a conceptual piece that tells a story. That's awesome. Now, as a drummer, is that more difficult to play for something conceptual?
Actually, it's easier. I found that, especially with my on-stage antics, it comes out more natural because now, instead of just drumming, now it's like, okay, now I get to be a character and be that character while I'm playing.
Okay. Does it help cover mistakes, too?
Yes.
Mistakes. We don't make mistakes.
No. Take me through the songwriting process. Who's writing the songs? Where's the inspiration?
We don't have one set way of writing. I mean, it could start from a riff that the doctor sends me on iPhone, or he sends it to Muppet, and they lay down drums and guitar. Just hearing each other's riffs, bass, he might come up with something and be like, oh, you know, I hear this, and then, you know, either I get sent that and I hear something melodically, or for instance, right before the tour, Chris sent me a guitar riff. It's just verse, chorus, like just a loop, you know, and it was exactly perfect. The instrumental sound to it, the feel of it, the emotion of that tone was perfect for lyrics I wrote like 2 weeks before then called Burn.
Oh, good.
Because, Burn, the song that I wrote, I had an emotion. Everything I write lyrically has an emotion behind it and a story. So I look for music that puts me in that mood. Or at the same time, we also write where I say, here's my lyrics, and I'll do some kind of a melody on iPhone, voice memo, and send it to Chris, and he'll mimic my melody and create chords around it. So many different ways that we write. Sticks and Stones on the album. We wrote that in 2 hours, and that came from a voice memo that I recorded in my car while I was getting coffee, and I said, sticks and stones never broke my bones, but the words they never hurt me. And that's all it was recording that. And we were looking for something else and my phone, and I came across and hit play. It was the wrong one, but Stitches and the Dark wait, what was that? And they're like, oh, play that again. And I go, no, that's not it. And they're like, no, play that again. And then they just both started going, and next thing you know, we wrote it in 2 hours.
Do you have a stockpile of material that you can't use because it's not the right mood, stuff that this doesn't really fit?
We have over 200 songs. We wrote for the first 2 years as a band. Age-wise, as a band, publicly, we're 2 years old. As when we got together as the four of us was 4 years. Okay. So for 2 years, we didn't go out at all. All we did was write every day for 2 years. Working with Ulrich Wilde, just to create this, to find and kind of hone in on our unique sound, which, we have a list of requirements for each song before they hit the album. So if anything is lacking from that list, it doesn't make it to the album.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stitches, you ever write anything that's too cheerful or bouncy for the band?
Oh yeah, I think it's some of the stuff. I used to play guitar long ago, but I'm more committed to bass right now.
Okay.
And I do go a little more heavy riffs and a little more heavy music, more black heavy metal on the side.
Well, what kind of music were you playing before this?
Well, all sorts of stuff, from really super high speed metal to kind of like a little bit of pop rock.
Okay.
And a little more hard rock. So all sorts of.
And is it challenging to make that transition into a theatrical band where you're not just a musician, you're a performer?
It wasn't difficult, because actually, as a matter of fact, I think the transition from that to Raven Black personally was easy.
Okay.
Because I've been a guy who has been dedicated to put time, energy into an image, showmanship, and stage. So these guys have those things that I was looking in my previous bands, and these guys were like, we're all in. So it was easy for me to just go into that direction.
Yeah, our audition process, the first process was me and Stitches talking on the phone for about 3 hours. And I remember him telling me, your image and what you want to do is exactly what I've been looking for a long time. Like musicians that have that common passion for theatrical performance with really heavy and, instrumental, music. So it was like, he was like, this is exactly what I've been waiting for. So I was like, well, I've been looking for people who, I never want somebody that is forced into it and they're just wearing a costume. Because then they don't fulfill the character from the story. And then the story itself evolves with each person's direct walk of life. So when I write the story in the comic book, it starts with me talking to each of them about something in their life personally, and then I, of course, fictionalize it. So there is some truth in some of the story writing.
Now, Muppet, we talked about having a passion for the band, which you have to have these days because the hour you spend on stage is glorious and glamorous, but the other 23 hours in the day are kind of you're busting your hump traveling across the country. Now, have you had any Spinal Tap adventures on the road that you can share with us?
No, I'm still here.
All right.
I'm still here. I'm still fucking here.
Waiting for Muppet to explode. Now, is there an overreaching or overarching story arc for the Raven Black tale? Do we know where it's going?
Well, our next comic book is We Came Across the Darkness. So we're going to a heavier album, probably the heaviest that will probably go. Going through just some comparison from dark to light, good and evil. The duality of each of us, duality of society, duality of being human. So it's going to get a little darker, a little more serious. We'll still have carnival. There will always have the carnival in there. But yeah, just a little darker and heavier. Yeah.
And you are very much a people's band. What do you want to say to your fans out there? Any message for them?
Yeah.
What's that again, Muppet?
I say, what's up, motherfuckers?
I always say it. Thank you so much for your support, and just be you. Just do you. Be real. Don't ever let anyone, make you feel awkward or uncomfortable for being yourself.
Thank you for all the love and support. It means everything to us.
Raven Black.